Hello, welcome to Live at Epiphan, episode 3. We've got a great show for you today. I'm George Herbert.
And I'm Matt Renault. And today we're going to be talking about a few different things. But first of all, we live stream every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so be sure to tune in every week for new and exciting topics. We've got technical topics, a little bit more, intense in terms of topic covering, and also a little bit more of lighthearted what's trending, what's new and going on in the industry.
Perfect. So today's big technical topic, and the reason why Matt's here on this episode with us, is talking about acoustic dampening in a studio environment and a whole bunch of other stuff around that. So that's going to be a really interesting one.
And then we're probably going to go over a little bit of what was going on over this week and a little bit over the weekend. We're talking about live streaming as well as maybe a little bit of an April Fool's joke. But in the meantime, if you have any questions or comments, anything you want to shoot at us, you can email us at live@epiphan.com. Or shoot us any sort of questions that you have. If we can't address them today, we'll be sure to get them for a future episode.
And of course, remember to like, subscribe, and all that social media stuff.
Now, we have done a little bit of an update in the studio since our last episode 2, so our last session last week. We've since started to update from original Pearl to Pearl 2, which of course will eliminate that requirement for the Geffen switcher.
Geffen switcher was very loud if you remember watching those previous shows, so there is a little bit of missing background sound now. It's actually quite a bit quieter in here now that we have that powered down and running everything through the Pearl 2, so that's fantastic. But I guess that leads us into the technical topic for today with noise.
Right, so let's go ahead and talk about acoustic treatment and acoustic dampening. So according to science, the biggest thing that we need to note is there's a difference between acoustic treatment and soundproofing. Of course, soundproofing is most commonly used in recording studios and a lot for testing and new equipment, whether it's speakers, microphones, whatever it may be. We start talking about things like anechoic chambers. So I've got something here on our webpage, which essentially will talk about the anechoic chambers and how it can actually cause hallucinations over time. It's essentially so quiet you can hear most of your fluids, most of your bodily functions happening, and over time you actually will start to go crazy. Now, that being said, we're not going that direction today. We're going to be going with acoustic treatment. So that's when you're going to start to see things like acoustic paneling and how we've adapted according to our studio to reduce that noise in order to have better control. The more control you have, the better results you'll have over your end result or your product. So let's take a look at the wall we have here. There's a few different things that we have. First and foremost, we're using the Prime Acoustics London Sound Kit. It's a 10-piece kit in this case. We've got some of the, looks like 12-inch by 48-inch longer panels, as well as the 12-inch by 12-inch panels. You may notice that some of them are in a grid fashion, but most of them are spaced out pretty evenly. There are two major methods of actually doing acoustic treatment. The most, intense or the most straightforward version would be to use a lot of math and physics. These panels here are actually a high-density foam that are meant to absorb a lot of sounds and different frequencies and waves. And essentially, by doing a lot of math, you can create, based on specific frequencies, the size of your room and the furniture within it. We can talk about what is the best result to eliminate all those unwanted sounds. In our case, we had something like the Geffen switcher.
So we did have a question coming in that I wanted to jump in since you were talking about the material that these panels are made of. We had a question come in about, is furniture a good place for that type of material, or do you really need to spend X number of dollars on a high-end fancy panel to put on the wall?
Well, depending on your budget, you can do a lot of things at home. So for example, if you wanted to hold up a massive sheet or curtain a couple of inches away from the wall, it will absorb some of those frequencies and kind of really quiet a room. A lot of people are using egg cartons as an example to try and dampen some of that noise. And of course, there is the low-end sound booth that some people like to do inside a bathroom. So I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that where they put essentially a mattress in the bathtub and a whole bunch of pillows and other things around. And this will essentially help reduce that noise. But you also have to keep in mind, if you've got something like a bookshelf or a hard, big surface that could be, such as a TV or an entertainment unit, all of that sound is going to be reflected off of that surface.
Well, I guess that's the problem we had in this room, is that, we're in an office building, so the walls are essentially just drywall and metal studs, so we're essentially in a tin box.
Right.
And I guess that was the first thing we needed to address, was to sort of reduce that bouncing.
Right, and by reducing that bouncing, by implementing some of these panels which of course you can configure in any method that you want using any sort of kit, you can yield the best sound. Now, there is another method. If you don't want to go the math and the physics direction, you can go the easiest direction, which is what sounds good for your setup. This usually takes 1 or 2 friends in the process to get it done, but essentially, you'll sit down where you want to do your live stream, have a microphone or something around the room, and your friends will essentially walk around with the panels in different places on the wall, such as you would have seen on our studio wall here, and you just get them to make noise or clap and get the best idea. Right, exactly. So we get a better idea from that. So of course, we use our again, Prime Acoustics London sound kit. It's a 10-piece. There are multiple different sizes that will yield for different results, such as bass traps, which will help absorb some of those low-end frequencies, and so on and so forth. But again, if you guys have any questions, you can shoot us a comment, or of course, live at epiphan.com, and I can certainly address some of those topics over future episodes if you want to, as well as we can go over Pearl 2 over a future episode as well.
Yeah. So I guess one of the other things we have in this room as part of that is sort of a secondary booth. I don't know what to call it. I'm no audio expert, let's be honest. But when we're doing voiceover, we use this other sort of screen sometimes in my face. So what does that give us that what we've done on the walls doesn't?
Right, so what we have as well is what's called a Prime Acoustic Flexi Booth, and essentially it's a small, almost armoire-shaped sound booth. So it actually, there's 2 hinges that allow for a booth to be, or acoustic panels to be at 45 or 60 degree angles and one directly in front of you. So typically the microphone will sit right in front of you there and will prevent reflections from escaping or going into the room and causing more noise around when you're trying to do something, especially like voiceover.
So that, I guess, just gives a more localized sound deadening as opposed to relying on the entire room to do that.
Exactly. By getting rid of some of that ambient noise, you have better control.
Right.
Typically, if you're watching a documentary, you see a lot of very quiet but very straightforward vocal. You won't hear any birds or sounds or wind or in the background, right? Right.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that sort of sums that up. As Matt said, if there's any questions about that, this is a big topic, so there's a lot to go there. If you have questions, put them in the comments. Be happy to address them, or an email. We can do that as well. It's probably a topic we'll come back to in future episodes in a number of different ways as we sort of move through. So I guess we'll move on and look at some of the interesting things we spotted around the internet this week. April's always a good one because April Fools starts us off. So,
and some of the biggest things that we've seen with April Fools, one of the biggest topics that were trending was Netflix. So Netflix this year decided they were going to do a quote-unquote live stream with Will Arnett, where essentially we just sit down and talk about the things that he was seeing, whether it was reheating a microwave burrito, or watching bread suddenly become toast over time, and essentially it was really about nothing.
It was 48 minutes of him observing and talking about nothing. I'll admit I did not manage to watch the entire 48 minutes as I started to lose my mind a little bit, but the joke was great. The production value that they put into it was great, and it was really good. And just like this article we pulled up on it, basically it was one of the few April Fool's jokes that people actually cared about this year, because it's becoming so trendy to do regular advertising as April Fool's jokes. This was definitely a clear, just pure joke. They even ran promos for it the day before on YouTube, all kinds, like they do for new shows.
Exactly.
And then ended up with, really this is about nothing. He was, I think the first 5 minutes, he's just staring at a photocopier in an empty room.
Yep.
It's really, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Now, unfortunately, guys, if you guys are trying to go back to Netflix and actually watch that, the video has since been removed. It was simply just the one-day event, because they are treating it like it was a live broadcast.
Yeah. The other thing that we really liked, and that was because it involved some of our products, was Level 1 Techs did basically a spoof-style review of our Webcaster product. So I definitely would say go check that out on their channel. But they ran, it's actually really funny the way they did it. A traditional, spoof of the I guess, shopping channel kind of ads, and ran that with our Webcaster. So that's a great piece and very cool and easy to check out on their YouTube channel. So of course we'll put all the links to all the things we've talked about in the description after the show ends. from there, that was, I don't know, out of all those things, those are kind of the ones that really stood out. I was kind of disappointed in general about some of the April Fool's jokes. These ones were definitely about live streaming, which was good.
Yeah.
A lot of the ones I wasn't too impressed with, which was too bad. But there's always next year to do something else.
Of course. And I mean, there are some amazing ones that have happened, live streams that have happened over the past year, which really made me laugh. One of them, of course, was, if you haven't seen it, was Cards Against Humanity doing their live stream while they were digging a big hole in the ground.
Right, for no reason, and raising money for no reason, and for whatever it was, they just felt like digging a hole and live streaming it. But so it does speak to some of the interesting things that live streaming can bring us, whether it's not a real live stream like what Netflix did, or even just taking a fresh take on things. So, but that's pretty much what we had there. I guess the only other thing we wanted to summarize and bring up yet again, you'll have to listen to me one more time talk about this. The end of April, we will be exhibiting at NAB in Las Vegas. I will be there along with other members of the Epiphan team. We will be showing off all of our products like Pearl 2, Webcaster, and AVIO line of products. We'd love to see you at the booth if you're planning on attending. We can give you a walk around, a full tour of all the different products, and really work with you to figure out where Epiphan might be able to help you in various different pieces.
In the meantime, if you guys have any suggestions for show in the future, if you guys have any questions, again, leave us a comment or send an email to live@epiphan.com, and we'll be happy to address those as soon as we can. Next week, we're going to be looking at, I believe it's basic lighting techniques with our expert Dan. You'll be talking about various different lighting techniques with the growing trend, of course, of LED being the new standard. And
that's another big topic, so that one will probably be a big one. But yeah, we're going to have that next week. And of course, we'll come to you on Thursday. So, as usual, subscribe on YouTube, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and yada, 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 of course. And we'd love to hear those comments and suggestions. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next Thursday, 3 o'clock Eastern. I'm George.
I'm Matt.
Have a good one.